What is a zombie vehicle and why is it becoming such a large problem in the automotive industry? Let's take a look. There are currently tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of vehicles that are in a zombie limbo vehicle title status that are piling up all over the country on parking lots, towing lots, dealership backlots, even individual consumers' driveways. These vehicles are in some stage of lending default where there's a loan that was originally issued for these vehicles. The loan was paid for at some point, but either the loan went delinquent, the payments were stopped, sometimes it was repossessed. In some cases, the loan was even paid off to zero, but the title for that vehicle is in a status that doesn't convey title to anybody. And here's how that works. In many cases, a lender who has a vehicle that's not being paid for, it could be a charge-off, it could be in default, it could be a write-off, and you might think that normally a lender would repossess the vehicle. We've all seen those TV shows, the repossession shows, or Repo Stars, or whatever the shows are, where tow trucks go and repossess vehicles. But it's highly unknown to the general public that most vehicles that are defaulted or have delinquent payments are never repossessed to the lender. Some vehicles are never even attempted to be recovered from the borrower. So if the driver of the car who's not making the payments has that vehicle, sometimes the bank doesn't even want to come get it from that borrower. And we'll talk about why not in a moment. Sometimes they will send a recovery company to go get the vehicle from the borrower, but then never get it from the towing company. And we'll talk about why not in that scenario too. In both cases, that vehicle now becomes a liability. The towing company has it on their lot and they can't do anything with it. Or the borrower has it in their driveway taking up space, but they can't title it, they can't register it because it's not in their name and there's a delinquency on the lien. And the lien holder is recorded on the title record. In some cases, the vehicle is towed because it was parked improperly, because it was maybe disabled on the side of the road, and the towing company puts it on their lot, and now they are stuck with the vehicle. In all of those cases, the vehicle cannot proceed forward with ownership because there is a lien recorded on the title by the lien holder. Well, why doesn't the lien holder just foreclose and get the title switched over to him? Well, there's a reason why they may not do that. In the experience of lien holders, getting the title switched over to them may not really have any value. In most cases, the lien holder really doesn't even want the vehicle back, because if they finish the foreclosure process on the vehicle, they have to go through some legal approvals, legal affidavits, and formally putting the vehicle in their name. And the recovery value of that vehicle, in their experience, for most vehicles is not worth it. And they do algorithm analytics on the vehicles to find out year, make, model, mileage. Is it even worth getting the vehicle back? In most cases, it's not. We've talked about that in other videos. But the big factor is, what are these vehicles doing in the marketplace? Well, now you have these cars piling up on parking lots. Maybe the vehicle owner, the borrower, has the car in their driveway. Can't do anything with it. The registration expires. Without the title, you may not be able to re-register and renew the plates. You can't sell it because the title has a lien on it, and you can't get a title. You can't trade it into a dealer for a new car because it has a lien on it. In many cases, because it's taking up space, the borrower doesn't have room to get another car. In many cases, we've talked to clients over and over who have contacted the lien holder demanding they come get their car. and the lien holder refuses to come get the car. The loan is in default, it's been foreclosed. The lien holder will even tell them, we don't want the car back. We don't care about this car. It's a charge-off, it's a write-off, and we're not coming to get it. So now the borrower is stuck with this vehicle that they can't sell, they can't dispose of. In fact, some borrowers have even looked into, well, can I just sell it for parts or sell the parts off it? And many times they've been advised by attorneys, you can't do that. It would be illegal to dispose of collateral of a lender. What about towing companies? Well, the banks are using towing companies as a leverage to try to get people to pay their car payments. They're contacting recovery firms or repossession firms and telling them, go get this car. It's a repossession. We're contracting with you to go repo this car. And the repo company spends time and effort and research and investigation to find the borrower, do a skip trace on the vehicle. They go tow the vehicle, recover it, bring it back to their lot, and they submit an invoice to the lender, and the lender just doesn't pay it. They'll tell them, well, we're not going to pay it. We don't want the car. So now the vehicle's stuck on the towing or the repo lot. Well, the repo company doesn't have unlimited space on their lot to store cars for free. The lender's never going to pay any fees on these cars. But the repo company also can't proceed doing anything because they're not the lender, so they can't get the title in their name. They may have some kind of a contract to repossess the vehicle, but that does not give them an authority with the DMV to get a title. In most cases, they can't even put a lien on the title for their towing because they're not an authorized automotive facility. They're just a recovery company. They counted on the lender to take care of this. So now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And for many towing and repossession companies, these cars are becoming a problem because now half their lot is taken up with vehicles they can't do anything with. So what about the towing companies? Suppose you are a towing agency and you tow vehicles that, let's say, are parked illegally. Maybe you tow vehicles for the police department that have expired registrations. Maybe you tow vehicles from parking lots where they're not supposed to be allowed to park. Maybe a restaurant or an apartment complex. Well, what happens is, if these vehicles are a zombie vehicle, and the police department has you tow one because it's an expired registration, which a lot of these are, or maybe it's double parked, or maybe it has too many parking tickets. Maybe you have a contract with a restaurant for people who park there to go down the street to some other business, and you have them tow illegal vehicles from your parking lot. Well, now the towing company has these vehicles piling up, and come to find out they have these zombie liens on them. And in many cases, the owner of the vehicle is not able to come get the vehicle from your towing facility because they don't have the title. And without the title or a valid registration, they're not able to recover the vehicle from your lot. So now it has to sit there. And in many cases, you contact a lien holder and they'll say, we don't want the car. Just keep it. And they like it because it gives them leverage to try to get the borrower to pay money. Because they'll tell the borrower, look, if you get caught up on your payments, we will give you an authorization to go get the vehicle. So now the towing companies are becoming de facto free storage for the lien holder on these zombie vehicles. And what will happen is, at some point, the towing company will do a towing lien or mechanics lien and look at that process. The problem is, for a towing company, that process can be 3 to 4 to 5 months. It can cost hundreds of dollars in either fees or title processing or even labor. Sometimes it'll take 8 or 9 hours of labor to do all the paperwork and all the bureaucracy and jumping through hoops. You have to send out official notices by certified mail. You have to publish ads in newspapers. You have to hold an auction. And each one of those steps has a waiting period in between 30, 45, 60 days. So you may be 5 or 6 months holding that car. And even then, sometimes the towing liens don't work because the lien holder might object to it. They don't want the car back, but they object to your towing lien. So all it takes is one objection, and now your whole towing lien is rejected by the titling division. So these zombie vehicles are piling up in various places. Police impound, towing impound, repo lots, recovery lots, and even, like we said, the private borrowers' driveways where they can't do anything with the vehicles. It's affecting the used car market because these vehicles are clogging up the system and in some cases keeping people from being able to buy additional vehicles. There's really no downside or liability for the lien holder because they don't need to store the cars and they don't see a net value in selling the car because by the time they pay auction fees and shipping, it's not going to be really worth it in most cases. A lot of the vehicles have mechanical repairs that are needed or physical damage on the vehicle. So the value may not be there. Even some of the towing companies we've talked to that want to do a towing lien, once they see that the lien process might cost $300 or $400 or $500, they just decline to proceed because the car might not even be worth that. Even if the car's worth $1,000, by the time you pay $400 or $500 in the towing process, if you auction off that car, it might be worth $1,000 in the book value, but somebody coming to bid on it at a towing lien auction, which is a distressed auction, they might only pay $500. So you're going to break even at best. Sometimes not even make your money back that you put into the tow or the lien process. So these zombie vehicles are kind of a secret, hidden, invisible restriction on the used car process. And it's starting to pile up. It's only been recently that the lien holders, the lending companies, have realized that it's in their best interest to not have the vehicles back. It might be good to get the vehicle away from the borrower, but by not having the vehicle back in their possession, they have the best of both worlds. The vehicle's away from the borrower, so they can leverage the borrower to pay, but they're not liable for the storage, repair, maintenance, all the other things that go along with it. Because you got to remember, a lender is not in the car business. A bank doesn't have a big lot where they can put hundreds or thousands of cars. They're a corporate office in a skyscraper in most cases. They don't have a parking lot where they can put, 2,000 cars just to store. In addition, there have been court cases where lenders have been found liable for repairs, damage, declining value of vehicles that they've repossessed in their possession. So let's say you're a lender, you repossess a vehicle and then you take it back and you are in possession of it. Anything that happens with that vehicle, if it gets damaged or if there's a mechanical problem that arises, if that car goes back to the borrower, now the borrower can say, hey, my car was fine when you got it. Now the transmission's blown. Now the brakes are bad. Now the fuel injectors are clogged. In fact, it may be that was the condition of the car before it was repossessed and the borrower is just making it up. Or it could be that it really did happen, because one of the worst things you can do to any automobile is let it sit. A motor vehicle that's not operated on a regular basis will deteriorate much faster than one that's driven every day. Seals, gaskets, fluids, all those things will deteriorate very quickly if the car just sits. Tires get flat spots. And if the lender was going to keep those cars in good condition, they'd have to start them up, drive them a couple times a week, keep the fuel with conditioner. They'd have to do a lot of things, and that would cost a lot of money. So lenders don't want to get involved with that process. They're not in the mechanical business. So letting the car sit wherever it's sitting is a much better option for that lender. But it doesn't help all of the other parties involved. The borrower doesn't help them because they don't have a car to use. And even if they can register the vehicle or renew the registration, the problem is if the vehicle needs mechanical work, like let's say it needs a new transmission, what are the chances you as a borrower are going to put $1,000 in a transmission into a vehicle that you don't own, that the lender technically has you in default? You're not going to put the money in, nor should you. What if you're a towing company? Same thing. The cars are just going to deteriorate, and eventually you're just going to have a junkyard, not a parking lot. And that hurts you as a towing company or a repossession company. The last thing that comes up is how it affects the title processing industry. All these cars backing up are creating a backlog of title transfers for the vehicles. Sometimes the towing company or the recovery company will try to do mechanics liens on these vehicles, but the laws and the requirements for mechanics liens are very tricky. They're very complex. There's a lot of safeguards built into the system to make sure nobody's abusing that process. Because the lien holder is not helping, the towing company is on their own, and a lot of times they're legally unable to meet all the requirements of a mechanics lien or a towing lien. So all that paperwork gets submitted, the DMV has to look at it, everybody spends time with it, and it still doesn't proceed. It's not approved. So that clogs up the system at the DMV, for the towing company, for the recovery company. Lien holder doesn't have to do anything. They can just sit back and keep pursuing collections against that borrower because they have leverage now, because they don't have to have the car, but the borrower doesn't have the car either. So keep an eye on this mechanism in the vehicle industry, these zombie vehicles, and we'll see how it plays out over the next couple of years, and if any states take action to change any laws or regulations to resolve some of this backlog.